In the early 2000s, in a small town in Michigan, a retired couple named Jerry and Marge Selbee stumbled onto something incredible. While most people bought lottery tickets hoping for a lucky break, Jerry and Marge discovered a way to guarantee it. This wasn't some get-rich-quick scheme or shady trick. It was completely legal. And by the time the loophole closed, they had quietly pocketed millions of dollars, all from a game that everyone else thought was pure chance. Jerry Selbee wasn't your typical gambler. He spent most of his life working at a cereal factory in the small town of Evart, Michigan, a place with only about 1,500 people, where everyone knew everyone else. After decades of steady work, Jerry retired with his wife, Marge, and the two settled into a quiet life. Jerry was the kind of person who liked routine. He'd sit down with a cup of coffee and a newspaper, do a crossword, or maybe flip through puzzle books. He wasn't a professional mathematician, but numbers had always made sense to him in a way they didn't for most people. He could look at a problem and spot the shortcuts, the patterns, the angles nobody else noticed. Marge, on the other hand, was the steady hand in the family. Together they had raised 6 kids, and now, with grandchildren in the picture, they were content to enjoy their retirement. To their neighbors, the Selbees were just an ordinary couple living in an ordinary town. Nothing about them suggested that they were about to discover one of the biggest legal loopholes in lottery history. And yet, it was Jerry's quiet fascination with numbers, a hobby he had carried with him since childhood, that would suddenly open the door to millions. One afternoon, Jerry was standing in line at a convenience store when he noticed a brochure for a lottery game called Cash Windfall. It was just a normal state lottery, or at least it looked that way. But when Jerry flipped it over and started reading the fine print, something stood out. The game had a special rule called a roll-down. If the jackpot reached $5 million and nobody won, the prize money didn't just disappear. Instead, it rolled down into the smaller prizes, the 4-number, 3-number, and even 2-number matches. For almost everyone, that detail didn't matter. But Jerry looked at it differently. He grabbed a pencil, did a few quick calculations, and realized that during a roll-down, the odds shifted in the player's favor. Normally, buying a lottery ticket was a losing bet, but under this rule, every ticket was worth a little more than it cost. And the more tickets you bought, the more that advantage stacked up. Jerry had just discovered a way to beat the lottery. Jerry didn't waste any time. As soon as the next roll-down came around, he decided to test his math. He bought just a few tickets, and sure enough, the winnings lined up exactly as he predicted. The math was sound. But Jerry also knew something else. Buying just a handful of tickets wouldn't make a real difference. To take advantage of this loophole, he had to go big. So he and Marge pooled their savings and started buying tickets by the thousands. They'd drive to nearby convenience stores, spend hours at the counter, and walk out with stacks of lottery slips as thick as bricks. At home, they'd spread them out on tables, enlist family members to help sort them, and start checking numbers one by one. Pretty soon, this wasn't just a hobby. It was a full-blown family operation. Sons, daughters, cousins, even neighbors pitched in, turning Jerry and Marge's discovery into a real business. And with every roll-down, the winnings piled up. For a while, Jerry and Marge thought they were the only ones who knew about the roll-down trick. They'd drive around Michigan, buy up thousands of tickets, and cash in like clockwork. To them, it felt like they'd stumbled onto a secret nobody else could possibly see. But they weren't alone. Hundreds of miles away, in Massachusetts, a group of MIT students had been crunching the same numbers. These weren't retirees looking for a clever side hustle. These were math prodigies, young and ambitious. who treated the lottery like an equation waiting to be solved. They pooled their money, wrote computer programs to model the odds, and approached the lottery like a science experiment. And once they realized how powerful the roll-down really was, they dove in head first. Suddenly, this quiet little loophole wasn't just Jerry and Marge's game anymore. It was a showdown. On one side, a small-town couple running tickets through the kitchen table with the help of kids and grandkids. On the other side, a team of brainy college kids armed with spreadsheets, algorithms, and group funding. The lottery was supposed to be about luck, but now it looked more like a math competition. And this would not go unnoticed. At first, it seemed unstoppable. Jerry and Marge were buying tickets by the thousands in Michigan. The MIT students were running their own operation in Massachusetts, and every roll-down played out just as expected. Profits stacking higher and higher, week after week. Convenience store clerks began to notice. Customers would walk in with grocery bags full of cash and leave with garbage bags stuffed with lottery slips. Sales would spike to record levels on certain weeks, and the numbers didn't add up. Reporters started asking questions. Local newspapers began publishing stories about unusual buying patterns. Why were ticket sales suddenly surging only during roll-down weeks? Who were these people buying tens of thousands of tickets? And why were the same names showing up again and again on winning payouts? State lottery officials had to respond. To them, it wasn't that anyone was breaking the law. Jerry, Marge, and the students were following the rules exactly as written. The problem was the system itself. What was supposed to be a game of chance had turned into a game of certainty, where only those with the math skills and resources to buy in bulk could consistently win. The pressure kept building. The public started to see the lottery not as a fair shot for everyone, but as something rigged in favor of a select few. And once the trust in the game was gone, the lottery had no choice. In 2012, Massachusetts officially ended cash windfall. Just like that, the loophole closed. The lottery had been beaten, but the game was over. Over nearly a decade, Jerry and Marge wagered more than $20 million in tickets and won around $26 million. After expenses, their net profit was several $millions. Enough to help their family, invest in their community, and enjoy a secure retirement. Unlike what you might expect, they didn't run off to buy yachts or private islands. They used the money to help their kids and grandkids, invest back into their small town, and make their retirement a little more comfortable. For them, the lottery was never about greed. It was about solving a puzzle, and they had solved it better than anyone. The MIT group also made millions, but their story ended differently. Their operation drew harsher scrutiny, and when the loophole closed, the students eventually disbanded. For Jerry and Marge, though, their legacy was already set. Two retirees from a town of 1,500 who quietly outsmarted a state lottery. Jerry and Marge didn't cheat. They didn't bribe anyone. They didn't rig the system. And they didn't do anything illegal. They simply read the fine print, did the math, and realized there was a way to win where nobody else was looking. Most people saw the lottery as pure luck. Jerry and Marge saw it as a puzzle, and they solved it. But loopholes like this never last forever. Once the spotlight turns on, the rules change, and the opportunity disappears. That's the lesson hidden in their story. Money isn't always about chance or luck, or even hard work. Sometimes it's about spotting the patterns that everyone else misses. And for nearly a decade, A quiet couple from a town of 1,500 proved that with nothing more than pencil, paper, and a little patience, you really can beat the odds.